Hey there, this is Kate with Louisville Real Producers. Today I'm joined with Jay Pitts, and we wanted to just put together a quick video with the state of the market, the industry, the kind of the world right now with this COVID-19. Just wanted to chat a little bit about a few different topics. So, like I said, this is Jay Pitts, broker of RE/MAX Premier, and I guess to start things out, let's talk about what is the state of the market here in the greater Louisville area right now.
Sure. Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. I must say, and this is kind of what I'm telling other agents that I'm speaking to on a daily basis, what I'm telling my agents is that just simply, we're not exactly sure what's going on right now. I don't think anyone does. The story is evolving so much each day, but what you can probably appreciate hearing from me upon is like, what's the market doing right this minute? I'm not qualified to speak to health concerns. Social distancing has certainly become the norm, and we're passing along. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute, some advice that we're passing along to our agents. But I think, what I'm seeing in the market is a bit encouraging, despite, the seriousness and severity of the situation, people quarantining in place. We have, a lot of information. We don't know what to say. It appears like the consumer is still moving forward with transactions that were in process. I manage about 60 highly productive real estate agents. I have not seen very many contract releases come across my desk. I've heard a situation or two where buyers have been really uncertain about what things are, to come and have decided to not move forward with transactions, but that's certainly not the norm. My individual sales team, which is about 20 agents that work directly with me on my individual sales practice, sold 13 homes last week. We've put, it's Thursday, we've put another 5 under contract this week with multiple other offers in different stages of negotiation. That's both buyers and sellers.
Wonderful.
A quick search before, we jumped on the call today, Kate, just showed me that we currently as a market have 345 pending transactions. It's important to understand the difference in the status between the different statuses, and without getting into too much, the consumer that may be watching this wants to know what that means.
And that means the greater Louisville area.
That's right? In greater Louisville, multiple listing service, greater Louisville MLS only, some of Southern Indiana, but mostly Louisville Metro. You've got 345 pending transactions. Those pending transactions went pending since March 11th, which is kind of the date that I'm looking at as when this all kind of really got real. Mm-hmm. That's the date that, everything got canceled, every sport, every
basketball got canceled.
NCAA tournament got canceled in Kentucky. Obviously, that's important to us. But we've got another 689 transactions that are in the active under contract status. I don't have a way of knowing when those went active under contract. Now, the difference between the two is active under contract means buyer and seller have made an agreement. Okay. Pending means we're through inspections and we're very likely to close. Okay. So one of the biggest hurdles has been jumped. Now, we have no way of knowing whether those roughly 1,000 transactions are going to close in the next 60 days or not. But what I'm seeing come across my desk is it seems as though things are moving forward. Altogether as a real estate market nationwide, I could probably speak to some few other trends that I see and maybe do a little prognostication. But right here at home, it appears like transactions are moving forward that were in process, and other people are continuing to buy, albeit at a measured pace.
Okay. Yeah, and I know we were talking a little bit before, earlier today about, is this the same as the market crash that we had back in 2008? Are people comparing those types of things? And so you shared a little bit of info with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely natural to draw a comparison there. That's the last time that we had a real challenge. It's been relatively smooth sailing since then. I think that for a variety of reasons, this is a very different situation. What we're dealing with now is probably a bit more akin to 9/11 and the weeks and months after, 9/11. Of course, 9/11 happened in September, which is the beginning of a traditionally slower part of the year, whereas this COVID-19 is hitting in March, the beginning of a very busy season with a very robust economy. I have no doubt that things will slow down as a result. I don't think that this is the start of another Great Recession as it pertains to housing. There are certain industries that will be severely harmed because of this, airlines and such, the ones that you're hearing as recipients of the stimulus package that Congress is considering right now. But there's a few very real reasons why housing may just skip whatever recession, if one occurs. And that's because the general theme is that residential housing tends to come to the rescue of the economy. It's a good way to engender confidence. It's a good way. So I think the government is going to continue to promote housing. I don't have to tell you, everyone seems to know that interest rates are incredibly low despite a slight uptick this morning. But I can quote you some statistics, and I'm actually going to throw them up on the screen here if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm referencing an article from a gentleman that I hold as an extremely, extremely knowledgeable professional. Let's see if I can get this to work. Do you see it on here? 5 simple graphs that this is not like last time. I'm going to skip down here past mortgage, mortgage qualifications, which is obviously nothing like it was last time, to this annual home price appreciation graph. I think this is incredibly important because what you can do is understand that from 2000 to 2005, we saw at peak 12.5% price appreciation year over year. Nationwide, most of them were in the 8.5 range. You even had an 11.4 in 2005. And if you look at the last 6 years, homes have appreciated at a much more modest rate of 4 to 6%. 2017 obviously being the peak there at 6.4%. And this doesn't speak directly to our Louisville market, but it definitely has merit. The thing to take away from this is we haven't overappreciated. Okay, the market is not overly inflated as a result of poor lending standards, if you will. A second really, really important thing, and a lot of the general public may have heard this, is that we currently have an inventory shortage. We're at 3.1% or 3.1 months of supply nationwide, as opposed to 8.2 pre-Great Recession of 2007.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so less than half the amount of homes available for sale.
Yeah.
That has an incredible impact on the market. Number 4 there, houses became too expensive to buy. This one's a little harder to grasp, but what I want you to think of is that, there is a median income. The folks that have median incomes tend to buy median priced homes. In Louisville, that's about a $200,000 home, a little bit more.
Right.
I can't speak to the income numbers, but in 2006, to buy the equivalent home, it would have taken 25% of that person's income, just above that.
Okay.
Today, it only takes 15.5% of that person's income to buy the same median priced home. And that means that houses are 10% more affordable today than they were then. Incredibly important. And lastly, I think this one says a lot too, the buying behavior of people here in the United States has been very different leading up to this event than it was leading to the Great Recession. You have $824 billion leveraged, pulled out for consumer spending from appreciated equity, right? Maybe imaginary equity in those 3 years, compared to $232 billion in the last 3 years. Those numbers are adjusted for inflation. It's easier to borrow more money now because homes are worth more, and still we're roughly 20 to 25% of that threshold from back then. All of those numbers, those statistics, spoke to the cause of the Great Recession, which was housing.
Right.
Now we're looking at something much more typical, which is that housing is going to rescue, hopefully, the economy and help us rebuild.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's because everyone was a little bit more priced too high, stretching money and 125% loans and things like that. And that's why things crashed. Now this has nothing to do with that. I was in the mortgage business then, so I fully remember of how that happened. So
all too well, right?
yes, it affects the economy, but it's a different driving factor that
Yeah.
hopefully, can rebound a little bit faster for
Yeah.
us and not really see those effects, the
Sure.
same
Well,
effects.
most people don't even realize that the deregulation of the mortgage market that led to the last bubble bust was as a result of the dot-com crash and the recession that ensued there. So they loosened the credit market to recover from a recession, and that the pendulum swung too far in the other direction,
Yeah.
leading to all those foreclosures. I think we've learned our lesson. We're not
Yeah.
going back there.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole for a whole
Yeah,
different discussion. So
sure.
tell me this. So obviously you're one of our top producing realtors here in Greater Louisville.
Thank
That's
you.
why I reach out to you for advice and just to chat. So what tips and information would you give other top agents to give tips for them to give their clients
Sure.
and work their business right now?
Well, that's a great question. You know, a gentleman that I follow quite a bit in our industry, put something out last weekend that I saw that, with respect to what he called shadow marketing or peekaboo marketing, I think is what he said. The guy's a pretty funny individual. The messaging of the market's still great. I know all the things that we just talked about. Okay,
Mhm.
are messages for reaction to a crisis and where things are headed, but they don't deserve top line status in the email that you're going to send out to all your clients, right?
Right.
Like, you need to lead with empathy. You need to understand that this is a health crisis and people's health is more important. With the comparison to 9/11, we didn't go out and tell people that it was time to put a whole bunch of money in the stock market the next day because of, the impact that it had. That would
Mhm.
have been insensitive. This is the same situation. You have to understand that people are worried for the livelihood, for their livelihoods. Totally respect and appreciate that, but they're more concerned about the health and well-being of their families.
Yeah.
So, so, I think that industry professionals, because of the intensely personal nature of the transaction that we curate, I think that you have no choice but to be a leader within your community. Whether you realize it or not, you're looked at that way.
Absolutely.
You are a connector. You create a community around yourself because people refer their family and friends to you. You work with them, and you help them find the place where their family lays their head on the pillow at night. So because of that, offer your support in other ways. Don't tell them that it's time to refinance necessarily. I mean, if they engage you in that conversation because rates are low after you've checked in on them to make sure they're doing okay and they don't need any toilet paper or whatever, what have you, um, if you drive the narrative with love and care and empathy, I think
Mhm.
that gives you the opportunity to be there for them when they need you for business. I'm
Absolutely.
telling all my agents to win hearts and minds, to be the person they think you are already,
Right.
and don't take a detrimental shift that could have a negative impact on your business. In our industry, the unfortunate truth is, and I know your publication is for top producers.
Mhm.
You focus on the top 500, right?
Right.
The top producers are not the people that are likely to be impacted most directly. Indirectly, definitely, in a potentially positive way. The ones that are struggling to stay afloat are the ones that are going to be severely impacted. The agents that close less than 7-8 transactions per year, that are 1 to 2 transactions away from having to go out and get a full-time job.
Right.
Okay, but what happens when that correction, that shift occurs, is there's more market share available for the top producer.
Mhm.
The people that are here, in good and bad times, the people that have stood the test of time, the people that that your publication focuses on. So understand that the public will need you. That is another piece of advice. Make yourself visible. Make yourself visible. It's challenging too. Make yourself visible in a positive way.
Mhm.
Don't talk about business unless you're invited to. that's my best piece of advice I can give.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's great. Just being human, being yourself, and that's what people buy into and trust, and being authentic is super important right now.
Sure. I agree.
What type of adjustments are you guys making for this social distancing that's now our new normal?
Yeah, it's okay. So that's a great question. So number one, we've closed our office to the public. We are not, I can't control, my agents are highly producing, highly active, go-getters. They are out there, and I'm not going to tell them they are not allowed to work. They're independent contractors. I couldn't if I wanted to, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I can make serious recommendations, which I am telling them to be safe. I'm telling them to be prepared. Clorox wipes, rubber gloves, 6 feet of distance, mask if you can get your hands on one, and you feel it's appropriate. Feel free to preview homes. We are taking advantage of every piece of, social distancing type of technology we can with FaceTime or video chat or GChat or Zoom that we're recording this call on right now for sure. We're not doing in-office meetings. We are doing everything that is on our regular training slate or schedule. We're doing it via Zoom. I've encouraged them not to hold public open houses at the recommendation of NAR, right. But I'm not stopping them. I'm guessing that most of them are not.
Right.
We held a few last weekend, but this coming weekend, I would expect there won't be any, unless I have one that goes rogue. But in that event, you're looking at same deal: hand sanitizer, desanitizing doorknobs and light switches every time someone comes through. Keep your distance if you don't feel comfortable. If you open a vacant house and stand on the front porch and let somebody walk through it, then that's totally fine as long as it's vacant.
Right.
All those things are incredibly important. I've been working from home mostly. I did go out a bit yesterday and check on a few, vacant properties just to make sure everything was in order. Mm-hmm. But this is our new normal, and I'm hearing, daycares 8 weeks. I'm hearing schools maybe not for the rest of the school year. NCAA just canceled. They were under suspension. Now all spring sports are canceled.
Wow.
It's going to be a while before we get to go back to normal. And even when they let us go back to normal, I think it's going to take some time for people to get comfortable again.
Yeah.
And we just want to respect that. We want to respect our agents' health, safety, and well-being, that of their families, and that of our clients as well. But the show has to go on, at least to some extent. Right.
We can't just stop our lives, and to a certain degree, but this the technology that we have nowadays is amazing, and so I'm thankful that we're able to do these things, and just think outside the box.
I'm working on noodling on. I don't know if it's going to be a blog post or a podcast episode or some piece of media of things that should change permanently.
Yeah.
And that have a chance to as a result of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I really think, we've arranged for our commissions coming from closings to be paid via wire and documents transmitted electronically. I don't know why we've never done that in the past. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to walk away from a closing table with a paper check. It just makes too much sense for money to be. It just makes too much sense. Why are we not? It's the same reason these dogmas that we've prescribed to as an industry for so long, and people fought electronic signatures. But look at what that has created. What opportunities.
Right.
I'm anxious to see what happens on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This kind of brings light to my day. We know that the sky's not falling, so it's really some great news in some otherwise not so, certain times. So I appreciate your time.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you having me. And there is positivity out there. You just got to look for it. It's really easy to find the negative stuff. The positive stuff is there. You just got to look.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. You and your team bring that positivity all the time. And with Real Producers, we try to do the same. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.